Good morning, guys. It's Kevin here from Tranquility Escapes. Today we're taking this pondless waterfall right behind me and transforming it into something so much better. So this customer called us a few months ago and we did a consultation, and this is a pretty fairly new water feature that was actually built only a couple of years ago, and ever since it's built it's been leaking. It hasn't looked the best, and he's been watching our videos more and more now to the point where he decided to pull the trigger and finally get us to come here and rebuild it. So that's exactly what we're doing today. Today we're going to be demoing this waterfall, taking out this gravel pit of a basin, putting an aqua basin 45, and then building a more natural 4-foot pondless waterfall. Probably not going to go as tall as this one, but we're still going to get the sights and sounds that he wants. And then we're going to also bleed out the dirt around it to get more landscaping. As you can see, we have boulders pinched against the liner. That's what usually causes leaks right there, because there's no fabric on either side, and we have two boulders pinching together. You create a pinhole. So there's also not enough room over here for landscaping, and he really wants this to look natural instead of a volcano. So that's what we're doing today. We're gonna get our trailer unloaded. We have pretty good access right over here, and that's exactly the moss rock we'll be using. We're gonna get started on this project. We got a late start today. We went to a rock yard in the morning that didn't have any boulders, so we had to drive over an hour to get boulders for this project. So we're moving along with the demolition of this pondless waterfall. This waterfall actually had some pretty large boulders for the size it was, but you could see these boulders were just buried, so you only saw the top of them. Rendering these boulders basically useless. We're gonna actually be repurposing these boulders for a retaining wall back here, so we're not bleeding too much soil into the yard. Which brings me to this point over here. This whole reservoir is a gravel pit. Say if you were hiring a landscaper or DIYing a project and you were thinking about doing a gravel pit for your reservoir, we highly recommend against it due to this. Imagine you had to change the pump right down there. That tube leads you to the pump area. How do you change that pump without removing your whole reservoir? And once you start emptying out this gravel, you start removing the foundation for all these big boulders, which starts collapsing your waterfall. This is a very old school method of building waterfalls, probably early 2000s. If you're gonna be building a reservoir, do it with the aqua blocks, do it with an aqua basin. This pit over here, it's not so simple. As you can see, this waterfall's only been installed for a few years. This gravel is absolutely disgusting. And no matter how much you just try to rinse it and pump it, you'll never get it clean, because there's no way to actually drop a pump all the way to the bottom of the reservoir unless you're removing all this gravel every year, which is a pain in the neck to do. It's also expensive if you're hiring a company, because it takes us way longer to just remove a gravel pit compared to flushing a basin out. So those are just some things to be wary of if you're hiring a contractor or you're DIYing a project yourself. Just keep that in mind. Just don't think about the present, think about in the future of what maintenance you're gonna have to do. Pumps do go bad. They only last a couple of years, say 5-7 years. You're gonna have to replace them, as well as maintain that reservoir. If you have a lot of trees in your backyard, you're gonna get debris in your pondless waterfall, and the last thing you want to happen is it to clog. So to prevent that, you have to do some upkeep. It is a pondless waterfall, and I know it's low maintenance, but it's not no maintenance. You still need to keep on top of it and clean it every single year. So it's been a few months since we've been back at this property here in Rockville Center. We're about to walk in the backyard, so come join me. The first thing I see is a glimpse of this pondless waterfall. You start hearing the tranquil sound, and wow, you can see how much this landscape has grown in. The homeowner planted this himself. A lot of this has completely taken over that right side of that pondless waterfall. Can't even see the rocks actually, which makes this thing look really natural. You can tell the homeowner actually added his own lights in here, and this thing looks fantastic. Some of these plants are withering away. It is coming close to winter, but even a small pondless like this gets you about 9 to 10 months of enjoyment out of the year. See, he's got a couple unique features in here. He's got a little koi fish in this pooling area. That's why these pooling areas are really great. You can add your own little touches of stuff. It's got the aquascape stump right here. There's actually an outlet underneath the stump. That's a great way to disguise your outlets. And then he has a bunch of little trinkets around this pondless waterfall. Just always adding your little touch. I mean, this space has developed greatly with this pondless waterfall. You have a fire pit right here, pavilion right over there. I can imagine just sitting down in this patio, having a nice fire right there. You get such a soothing sound. These little pondless waterfalls are great. I mean, we're in a very tight suburban backyard. You can see our access just through that little gate right there. Just with that access, we're able to bring in about 2 tons of boulders in a very tight area, create a retaining wall, and build this pondless waterfall. This thing gives such great sound in a little tight area over here, and it just brings your living space to the next level. One of the most important things about this pondless waterfall to the customer was he wanted areas to plant. His old waterfall, you could see it's just a pile of rock. There was no areas to plant anything around it. Back here, we're able to create a retaining wall, bring in a couple yards of soil, and berm this out. Can't even see that retaining wall now with all the plants there, but you can see how much this has naturalized. And it's only been a couple months since we built this. Give this thing a couple years, this whole thing will be overtaken. Unfortunately, you can see a lot of these plants in the background are wilting as we're going into winter right now. But a pondless waterfall like this, you can expect anywhere from 8 to 10 months out of the year to enjoy this water feature. This pondless right here, top to bottom, is only 4 feet long, and it's just under 2 feet of elevation. If you're looking to do something like this in your backyard, you can expect a project like this to be anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000. This is a one-day project, depending on whether you need a retaining wall or for demolishing an existing water feature. That price obviously will change with that, but a pondless waterfall like this gets you a lot of sights and sounds and just way more interest in a backyard corner like this. For a pretty low investment, I definitely think this is worthwhile. The homeowner just came out here. He said he's been enjoying it for the last few months. And on top of that, all these trinkets in here are actually because of his granddaughter. Every time she comes over, this is the first spot she goes to play with all the rocks and all the little trinkets inside this pondless waterfall. It's a worthwhile investment just to enjoy some family time and just relax and sit by this water feature.